LMD Magazine and EFM present Biz Talk, taking an in-depth look at today's biz landscape.
Welcome to another edition of LMD EFM Biz Talk. Today we're speaking to founder and chairperson of the Quantum Consumer Solutions Group, Dr. Meena Kaushik. Good morning, Dr. Kaushik, and thank you for joining us today.
Good morning.
First off, can you give us a brief explanation of Quantum?
So, Quantum is a very specialist market research company, and we really focus on the consumer psyche, understanding the unconscious and how it drives consumer behavior. And there are two aspects to the kind of work we do. One is in the area of understanding the consumer psyche, the other is to understand the consumer culture and how culture actually imprints us and guides our behavior. Yeah. And Quantum as a company started in 1990, and we first set up in India, and our first offshore company was in Sri Lanka. So that happened 15 years ago, 14 years ago to be exact. And post that we then moved into Bangladesh, then we moved into Singapore, and now our most recent office is in Jakarta.
Having such experience in understanding the qualitative behavior patterns of the consumer, what can you tell us about the variations in trends over the past 10 to 20 years?
Yeah, so if I take research as an area and I look at the way the consumer is evolving, we're looking at a consumer that is now much more complex than earlier, only because the consumer has now got drives coming not just from the unconscious, but it's also got social media on the one hand, it's got conventional marketing aspects on the other hand, it's got culture impinging on their behavior. So actually the culture in which the consumer is operating is becoming more and more complex. There's so much proliferation of social media that we are not just able to capture the consumer's psyche and understand the consumer just by understanding his habitat or his behavior. We also have to see all the other networks and connections that come into play with respect to consumer behavior. So this is one of the biggest evolutions. The other is the consumer has a very big social imagination. I may be born in a village in Sri Lanka, but because I'm connected through social media, I have an imagination of myself as much bigger. Because I'm seeing on Facebook, I'm seeing through Google, I'm seeing through the internet, I'm seeing through Twitter, how people in the world live. So I have a more global sense of myself. And that's a very big thing. It's called the social imagination, the bigger social imagination. That's the second trend. The third is, I'm also now not seeing myself as trapped in one location. So earlier people used to say, you only have mobility if you travel. But today I have virtual mobility. I can go anywhere in the world I like, just sitting on a computer, and I'm here, there, everywhere. I can consume in different ways. It's not consumption which has to be real, it can be virtual consumption also. Now that's another very big trend. So I'm getting a kind of gratification which I wouldn't have got earlier. So earlier it was, I have to go and buy a brand, and then I have to consume it, and then I feel gratified. Today I can get on to sites. I can see, I can choose, I can select, and need not buy. Or I can buy. So online shopping is also a huge area that is changing. Earlier, one had to worry about how does my product or brand look in the store? What kind of POP do I need to put out there? How do I attract the consumer to the brand? Now I'm looking at a whole space of internet marketing, where people are actually, selecting on the basis of just browsing on the internet and saying, I think I'll go to Amazon, or I'll go to this site or that site and pick up what I want to buy. So that's again another shift that's taking place. The fourth is that people are also now has so much choice that brands have to work much harder to keep the consumer engaged. Why should I buy you? I've got 15 brands in this category. I can choose any. So there's a lot of commoditization of brands that is happening. I can't tell the difference between one and the other. So I have to work much harder as a brand to be able to get your attention, to keep you engaged, to want you to be loyal to me, buy only me, not anybody else.
during your visit to Sri Lanka, you released a study on archetypes. What can you tell us about that?
So, one of the big things that we've I've been trying to talk to the marketing fraternity about is really the use of unconscious archetypes that exist in our psyche. And it's a concept that started with Carl Jung, who was a psychiatrist in the 1900s. And Jung talked about the fact that in our unconscious, we've got archetypal images which exist even prior to our birth. They're part of the collective unconscious. And these aspects, so for instance, the concept of motherhood, the concept of a hero, the concept of a ruler, the concept of a jester, the concept of... These are pre-existing ideas that are part of our psyche. And if brands can tap into understanding what their own archetype is, you're able to actually get a much better relationship with the consumer, because in every individual, we all have notions of these archetypes. For instance, if I were to appeal to you like a hero brand, as a consumer, I can understand it because I know what these heroic values are all about. I don't have to be taught. They're already inside me. That's why when I go to see a movie or I watch a TV program, I'm already able to relate to those characters because those are characters that are already existing inside me. So if I'm able to invoke or evoke that feeling, the brand has a much greater relationship, easier way of bonding with the consumer. Now, for instance, if I see an ad where you show a mother caring for a child, every consumer across cultures understands it. I don't have to be taught that this is a mother caring for a child, because the concept of the archetype of a caregiver exists inside me. The archetype of a hero exists inside me. The archetype of a magician, someone who transforms life, makes life better for people, exists inside me. Look at the Fair and Lovely advertising that we have. It talks about the fact that I'm born with a dark skin, but a brand comes and tells her that I can make your life better, I can change your skin, I can change the way you are. That's the magician archetype talking. Yeah? And why does it appeal to women? Because I also have that inside me, which says, hey, I want some transformation to happen to my life. I shouldn't be born with a destiny which cannot be changed. We're all people who would like to change our destiny. So why does that advertising appeal to the consumer? It's because of a basic archetypal truth on which it is based. Yeah. So that's what the archetype study is all about, and it can actually really make brands and brand management extremely good, because today people don't know what their brand stands for. And with every successive brand manager that comes, the brand changes its character. But once I know what the archetype is, I'm managing the brand like that. So if I'm a ruler archetype, I have to make sure that my brand remains consistent in the voice. It's in advertising, in its packaging, in the way it's presented to the consumer. I have to be absolutely consistent with that.
Dr. Kaushik, thank you for taking the time to speak to us.
Thank you so much, and thank you for listening to me.
Tune in every Tuesday and Thursday for more insights from our business community. You can also log on to efm.lk and lmd.lk/lmdtv for a visual experience of Biz Talk.